Collective, what is going on? Good morning. Welcome into the channel. So happy to have you here always. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we're going to look at the energy. It's our midweek check-in, right? So we'll look at the energy, what's led us to this point, what follows us in the future, and via the tarot astrology, any channeled messages that come through, and I will incorporate some Ayurvedic or holistic wellness living habits, patterns that we can kind of help just promote our overall strength, stability, etc. We're in Gemini season right now, and it has been busy. The pace is definitely picking up. Hence why, sorry, I've been MIA for the last few days. I overscheduled myself. I have a tendency to do that. I apologize. I thought I could do more than what I could, but unfortunately, I had to kind of set the channel aside for a few days. But I appreciate your patience with me always. But again, like I was saying, part of that's just the nature of Gemini energy. It brings in more energy, more vitality. It has a really nice energy around it. I think it's an energy that we need. You know, we've been kind of stuck, so to speak, or things have been rather stagnant, moving at a slower pace. And we are kind of like wrapping up Gemini season. We're in the last week or so, but the next few months are definitely going to be busy. And it's about using that energy towards our advantage because we are still facing resistance challenges in certain areas. There are things, especially this week, even though it hasn't been like crazy in terms of stuff happening, stuff culminating. It's been a lot of dealing with the emotion, the frustration, the things that feel unfair or, whatever. Like just the stuff that we're having a really hard time around. And it's also kind of hard to like wrap our mind around why things are happening in the way that they are. And we do have to find more creative and inventive approaches to things. And as I'm saying this, we have more tension topically, like on the surface layer. So when I'm talking about that, it's more in like the day-to-day functioning, right? The interactions, not necessarily the deeper things, the deeper spiritual truths. I think a lot of what we are supposed to understand at this point, we do, right? So whatever lessons spirit is trying to teach you or help you shed light on certain people, situations in your life, who and what they are, and how they're playing out for you. Those are the things that we're more aware around. And now it's just kind of like doing the work, filling in the gaps, filling in the pieces, not getting too bent out of shape when things are not progressing how we want them to. Because, like I said, there is also, it's duality, which Gemini is, right? There's this aspect of things that are slow, and you have to be patient and you have to kind of just strategize and make sure that you're not forcing any issues, but then at the same time, there's a lot of activity. And that's definitely been this week, right? Lots of activity, lots of things happening, and just trying to find grounding, balance, stability in the process. But that's also why I like to start the readings off with an energy cleansing, just to set the tone, set the vibe for the reading, cleanse out those places that we might feel blocked or limited. It really is a good time to set your own intention for the reading as well, especially if you have come in with something on your heart, on your mind, something that you would like spirit to bring messages to you around. Definitely give that over, be open to receive. It really is a great way to personalize these collective readings. You can also skip ahead if the blessing is not your vibe, and you'll still receive the blessing, I promise. Always good vibes over here. But yeah, I also offer a variety of healing and wellness services. Readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, how it's faring, where it's headed, or if you're interested in more of a realignment of self, your mind, your body, your soul, I do energy healing as well as Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations. So when we are aligned in self, when we're grounded, when we're stable, like I was just talking about, that's really where we tap into our happiness, our fulfillment. That's where we're able to manifest a lot easier as well. And I would totally love to help support that for you in whatever way possible. Definitely hit me up. All the info to get into contact with me is in the description box below. All right, with that, let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it and release it from our being so that we may see and understand the messages clearly and help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit guides, guardian angels, Mama Love. All right. So, as much as things have been busy, I feel like there's some good momentum happening underneath. Like you feel like pretty strong, confident. That's too many, but we'll see what it's saying. Lavender, tranquility, kindness, self care. Maybe you're finding a little bit more peace in the chaos, is what I'm hearing. Seeds also is popping up. New ideas, hope, open mindedness. I like that energy, right? So it's like, it feels like a little bit of detachment, but in a good way. Not being so attached to the outcomes or what comes your way. Maybe even just like I'm hearing like staying in your own lane, right? Like you're in this space where the things that feel a little trickier or that you don't have as much control over, you're more willing and ready to just say, okay, this is what it is. And I'm going to let things play out, but still like focus on what I need to do. It feels powerful. Like I'm hearing like a lot of steadiness within self and not really, like I said, not really veering off course too much, or that's how your energy is coming through. And you might even have people, situations that are trying to push you one way or another. And as I'm saying that, obviously, this mushrooms comes up, which does have a toxic component. Mushrooms can be really medicinal, but they can also be, well, Ayurveda does kind of look at them as they do have some toxic components, and that's just the way that they grow, right? They grow in those like wet, damp environments in the dark. It definitely can kind of correspond to shadow energy, but it has that medicinal component, right? It can also be, sometimes medicine can be things that might be a little bit more toxic or a little bit more taboo. This symbolizes in this deck recycling, breaking down problems. I like this for you though. It feels like a weight is being lifted as you're moving through the rest of the weekend. Or maybe you're finding some things out that are starting to help lift some of the burdens, some of the stress. And even though mushrooms, like I was talking about, can be a little bit toxic, like I like how vibrant these ones are. The red is associated with our root chakra. So again, just kind of highlighting the ways that you are feeling more grounded and stable in self. And we all need a strong root chakra in order to like kind of just like make the best version of our life. If we don't have that strong foundation, if we don't feel secure in self, then it makes that hard to build and to grow within your own life. And I feel like these are problems that have been getting in the way for some time, and things that you've been intentionally working on. It looks like your energy is good. Leaves, renewal, revival, progress. What you are putting time, effort, energy into is paying off. Maybe not everyone, everything likes that in your life right now. And that's part of where you have to do a little dance, right? Like you have to be open and flexible. And your energy definitely feels that way. Like I feel like you're not really attaching onto things too tightly. If anything, I feel like and even things in the past that maybe would have tempted you, right? To like buy into it hook, line, and sinker, whatever that looks like. That can be a myriad of different things, right? It doesn't have to just be believing a person or a situation. It can be a thought, it can be a belief. It can be something that you hoped someone was giving you, then they didn't, now they are, and you're like, ooh, you know. So keeping that stance is what I'm hearing. Continuing to keep things light and loose. Yeah, because there is still some cleansing that's needed, necessary, and also happening. I feel like this is also part of the breakdown that you're watching happen. Like, I think that you're cleansing in your own life in certain ways, and then that's also being mirrored in your outside environment from the people, situations that you are dealing with. And it's interesting because we have this little cluster, um, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, that are all harmoniously aspected. They are outer planets, so they deal more with our spiritual evolution. But if we, like was saying in the very beginning, if we can kind of understand what those lessons are, it's going to make things easier. Not easy, but easier, right? And as I'm saying this as well, um, Saturn is positively aspected to Black Moon Lilith. So where the toxicity has popped up for you, where there has been illusion or shade or lies, whatever, it's the more that you invest in self, the more that you cleanse, the more that you purge your energy, the more that you clear way for what is to come, the stronger the easier it is to see through the illusion, I should say. And yes, the stronger you become, obviously. But it's a good type of strength. Like I said, like I just feel a lot of confidence, presence, self-awareness. This is gorgeous. I really love this energy. It feels like people aren't really shaking you in the same way that you used to be, right? Even if it does come with a little twinge of self-doubt, insecurity, it's not pushing you off course. If anything, I feel like you're just very focused on self. And as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this cicada. Cicadas kind of have a phoenix energy to them, where they bury themselves underneath the earth, right, in order to rise again. Um, Nourishing self, I'm seeing. Nourishing self with continuing to nourish self, or making sure that you're putting emphasis on self-love, self-care. Ayurveda is a huge proponent of this, especially the daily routine. I'll talk about this. I talk about it a lot. I'll probably talk about it forever. But Ayurveda is pretty amazing. It's pretty magical. It's very simplistic, but very profound in the way that it helps us grow and heal and evolve. It's totally that like indirect healing where if you just kind of follow the rules, like you're going to be good. And it's, like I said, it's incredibly profound. Definitely look into it if you don't know much about it. I'm also available if you're interested to learn from me. I love to share. I love to chat. Okay. So you might not feel very secure and stable with where things are at. The preserve is in your blocked energy for the rest of the weekend. Security, forethought, thrift. So you might, I don't know. I think this is more because we're in Gemini season and life is moving. And I feel like that's where the lack of stability comes into play. Or it also feels like this energy of you're not really sure where your security and stability is in the present moment. Not in a bad way. I think it's just that, like, I'm hearing either like you've had to build that for yourself, or maybe you're just kind of dealing with certain things that you can't rely on other people, other situations for. And so you've become very self-reliant, which has definitely been part of this process of breaking down the toxicity, breaking down like the toxic patterns. Let's get it into the tarot. Astrologically, like I was talking about in the very beginning, it's a little bit messy on the surface. And like I said, I've seen this pop up a lot throughout the week with people who are just like, it's more about like controlling one's self, controlling one's emotions. And I'm not saying it in this way to not feel your feels, right? It's important to feel your feels. Um, my son was having a really hard time with school ending. He's young, so it's still like he's gonna miss his friends and it's summer break and all this stuff, and just was being really emotional. He's just that kind of fellow, and I love him for it. And it's interesting, a lot of some of the staff was trying to tell him not to cry, not to feel it. And all that does, and I was trying to explain to him, like, all that does is just shove it down, and then it can come out in worse ways, right? So we want to make sure that we are acknowledging that we're understanding the feelings that are coming towards us and even allowing ourselves to process them, not to pretend that they don't exist. Or, there's also this value of making sure that you're not letting them pull you back into things that you have been trying to cleanse out, the toxicity that needs to be removed, or that is, again, I feel like that's naturally happening. I feel like you don't necessarily have to put a lot of effort into that, like releasing that, because it looks like I said, it's already happening for you on the sidelines, but you're still in this waiting mode. I think you're waiting on something with this Eight of Pentacles. How are things going to work out? It's showing up, whatever you're dealing with right now, it's showing up in this energy of like, I'm willing and available to put a good effort forth to see if we can build and grow something better, something that does have more stability. Eight of Pentacles is a very stable energy. I don't know. I feel like you're not convinced. I feel like you're on the fence. I feel like whatever this is, you're not really giving it a lot of credit right now because you want to see how it all unfolds. And there's still some stuff lingering in the background that just make you uncertain. It has this energy around it of like, I don't feel like you want to get engaged too much in something. I feel like this might have been something you gave a lot of time and energy to once upon a time in the past. It wasn't responding in the way that you had wanted or needed, or what would have been a healthy exchange. And so you put it on the back burner, and you can see that there is some progress. But again, it doesn't look like you're putting too much emphasis on it right now. And unfortunately, or not, or maybe this is exactly what you're picking up and why, there still is this 10 of Swords in the background. So something like repeating bad behavior, the same cycle over and over and over again. 10 of Swords is a cycle of betrayal. Being stabbed in the back is how it's shown on the original deck. And it's the ability to learn and grow from our struggles. But in the blocked energy, and we'll clarify this, let me just get the cards on the board, but it definitely has this energy of like, someone's patterns, the patterns of how a cycle moves. And you're waiting, right? Like, you don't want to give someone or something too much credit before they've actually proven themselves type vibe. And you're not really seeing things diplomatically anymore. Like, I think that you're kind of biased in what you think and what you feel, but I feel like this is actually good. It's good to have that bias. It's good to maybe, obviously we don't want to sell people short per se, but at the same time, if it's something that you see over and over and over again, what else can you expect, right? And that is that famous Einstein quote about insanity, seeing doing this same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Right? Okay. It does look like okay, interesting. Okay, it does look like I feel like someone is working on themselves, like they're trying to be better. Very interesting energy. They're trying to be better. I think they're trying to like find betterment within self. Like I'm seeing with this 10 of cups, it's like maybe they've been through a rough time or they've really had a hard time just like being happy, being at peace. It does look like they're working really hard to change that, like just a better mood overall, where that 8 of Pentacles comes in. Like it looks like someone's trying to get themselves back up and running so they can come towards you. And I think that they're going through their own process, whatever this is. Like I said, it looks like you've stepped away. We have all this wands energy in your energy. Sorry to be redundant. All this fire energy. So you've made some decisions about what things are going to look like for you. And again, you're not really giving anyone or anything too much wiggle room at this point. But I think it kind of serves your best interest because you are in a space where you do need to cleanse or you do need to get right with self, whatever that looks like for you, or whatever kind of like plan you have in place right now. It's not a great idea to let people, situations distract us, veer us off course. Because I'm seeing like I said, this natural cleansing. And it's helping you to be more established in self, to be more established, self-aware. It's also bringing stability and prosperity in a way that like, I mean, this feels intentional on your part, but maybe we don't even understand like the power, the gravity of what you are growing and building at this point. All right, let's see the 2 of Cups. Messages, communications coming in, making an offer with the Page of Cups, of course. 10 of Pentacles. Lots of tens. Someone's ready to be done with a cycle. They're ready to close a cycle out. It feels like they're trying to step something up. Like they're not trying to feed into some of the toxicity, the negativity of maybe how things used to be. But it also looks like you're, like I said, I'm seeing a lot of like you not budging. So you're waiting for someone to put their money where their mouth is. And I feel like they're actually trying. They're actually trying to make some efforts. And you see that. But it's also in this way where like you have your own boundaries. You have your own ideas about what you want and need. And I don't think this person or situation is necessarily fulfilling that for you. It might even be that they have to change their approach. Let's see what's hard for you to wrap your mind around. Okay. 2 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, some excuses coming in to 9 of Cups. Okay. Like getting rid of the toxicity. But I am seeing this as like excuses, like someone might be making excuses of like why they were doing certain things or why they didn't do certain things, why they didn't participate, why they didn't give to you, to the relationship in a way that maybe you needed. And it does look like you're getting something out of it. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, is this really what I want? Let's see. Is this really what collective wants? Change necessary. I think you do want the change. I think you do want things to be better. Like lots of tens on the board. So whatever this is a cycle that's finally closing out. It's a cycle that's finally closing out. And I do see it in this way where there is a rebalancing, you know. But again, I think this is a lot coming off of like you are the example in this moment in time. Whomever, whatever you're dealing with, you are being the example. And I think it's because despite the anger, despite the frustration, the emotions that I was talking about earlier, the moon is positively aspected to Chiron in a way that like it makes it's fuel to the fire. The anger, the tension, the frustration is fuel to not the fire, but the inspiration that is helping you overcome these challenges. What else? Okay. Yeah. I think that what someone is saying they want versus what they actually want are two different things. And that's where it looks like you're in this place where you're just not like, I just feel like you don't want to feed into it anymore. And it looks like that's how the rest of the weekend's going. Like you're not going to be engaging in the bad behavior, whatever that may be, whatever the toxic patterns that were set up before. Again, part of that unattachment that I'm picking up on, holding on to things lightly. What else can we say? Because this energy is moving from an 8 of Pentacles to a 9 of Pentacles. And 9 of Pentacles does signify independence, right? Like 8 of Pentacles is like, let's work on it. 9 of Pentacles is like, I'm doing my own thing. And I think that's exactly what you're afraid of. Not afraid of, but like that's what you expect. You expect this to go in a certain direction. And it does feel like you keep holding true to your boundaries, to what you think, to what you feel. It also makes a lot of sense with this preserved in the block energy, because this reminds me that like whatever has been built, not what I was talking about in the very beginning with you, what you're working on, but whatever's been built in this dynamic, as I'm saying that, the light goes out, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And it's very contingent on whatever's going on over here. Something that's trying to present a stable front, but also when it comes down to it, struggles a little bit. Obviously, with this 10 of Swords, maybe not really understanding like why they shouldn't do or choose something or say something. It has that kind of vibe. I am evolving. I know that each sunrise brings an opportunity to make a different choice. And I feel like that's part of like what this situation is trying to communicate. Like I am evolving. I am getting better. Give me an opportunity. It definitely has this like give me an opportunity type vibe. And they're not really backing down. Like I think that they're just like in this mode of like, if I do this, then collective's going to open up the door again for me. And I don't necessarily see you doing that. I don't see you doing that. I see like you already have your decision made to some capacity. And whatever you see this to be is what it is for you. And I don't really think anybody's going to change that. I think that what gets said, it might have been a dream, a desire of yours once upon a time. But now that it actually happens, it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? You're not quite sure. And part of this could just be the breakdown of the toxicity, unraveling certain patterns that haven't been serving you, that you don't need to carry forward, that are actually really essential for you cleansing out whatever this is you're removing in your life. And I like this for you, honestly. Like, I like the way you're doing things. I like the way your energy's coming up, because it's showing that, like, you're actually investing in yourself by releasing all the stuff so you don't carry it forward with you. You don't want to repeat. You don't want to go back into this 10 of Swords energy. You've been there long enough with someone, something, and it's just like you don't want to do that again, right? And so there is a complete renewal that's happening. That again is connecting you back to self. Ayurveda really talks about the worst thing that we can do is disconnect from self. And it is the root cause of all disease, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, is when we don't know ourselves. It's not even about knowing ourselves, but it's when we fracture away, when we let other people, other situations dictate how we think, how we feel about who we are. And what I love is that your strength is showing that you're not doing that any longer. Even if you are still reworking, building your confidence, building, trying to kind of like like it feels like you're rewriting some of the wrongs that have happened. Maybe that's not the best phrase to use, but like you're rewriting them in yourself. When we go through these really intense things, whether you did suffer through a betrayal or just something really messy, our brain gets wired to think or expect that thing to come again. And it looks like you're not going down that road. You're not taking yourself down that road because you know that there is something beautiful on the other side for you. And unfortunately, the toxicity has been in full front focus for however long, and it's no longer needed in your life, and you know that. Like, you don't want it because it is exhausting. And it does always tag back to our worth, right? I love this card though. It says, I know I deserve wonderful things. Say it again. I know that I deserve wonderful things. Actually, I was just in this meeting last night around Ayurveda, and he was talking about the Vadya it was the doctor. Vadya is what they call it in Ayurveda, but he was just talking about like our greatest disconnect right now is like in the world. It's not the struggle between people and races and cultures and political agendas and blah blah. It's the disconnect from self, right? The disconnect from consciousness. Because when we are connected to consciousness, when we are connected to that unity, we don't need to be assholes to people. You know what I mean? Like there's this value of there are ways that we can live in harmony, but we don't live in harmony when we're disconnected from self. And it is a really interesting way to think about things. We all have the opportunity to kind of enliven that unity consciousness. I know it sounds a little woo-hoo, but it's this idea, or it's this understanding that at the finest point of everything is unified. And it's the fractures that give rise to diversity, pain, suffering. Not that that's bad, because we need that as fuel, like I was talking about earlier. What you've been using it as your fuel to overcome whatever this is and to let it go. But I think this is also in hopes that things can get a little bit better, in your own life. I am taking up space, right? You're taking up space in your own life. I know that I do not need to avoid making others uncomfortable by playing small. And maybe it's as simple as that, right? Like something can't really handle the fact that you are choosing yourself. You are creating those boundaries. You are saying, well, wait a minute. You've done this for however long, and now you're trying to switch it up and say this thing. And it's like, maybe. And I'm not saying people can't change like ideas or opinions or whatever, but this feels like something where the quote unquote change can be an illusion. And that's what you're going to have to sift through. Everybody's situation is going to be different. But if we kind of look back to this energy of why you're having a hard time receiving something, it's directly because, there was a lot going on and it was very toxic for a while. And even though it's coming to this point where maybe something wants you or wants to engage with you again or wants to offer you something, it might not be the thing that you originally wanted, or it might not look the same, right? Because there's aspects around it that you can't trust. And again, it's not, I'm not saying it's all them and it's not you, but it definitely has this vibe. Wherever my 10 of swords went, I don't know at this point, but it definitely has this vibe because of like mistakes someone was making over and over and over again, which has led you to this point. But I like the way you're handling it. It feels like even if you have had some emotions or intensity beginning of the week, it looks like it's definitely calming down a little bit, which I love. And you feel good. You feel good. You feel strong. It feels like it's a continuation of the process of letting go, things being broken down so that you can start fresh, start new again, or again use that as inspiration to keep propelling you forward, which I totally love. All right, collective, thank you so much for your time, energy, always. I hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope you found messages that resonated for you here. Thank you so much for sticking around, especially if you've made it this far in the reading. I super appreciate all your love, all your support. Definitely drop comments below. I love to hear how things are going. Just connect, say hey, share, and a little love, a little TLC. I so appreciate all the love, all the support that you bring to the channel. No, it blesses my heart. I am going to go live Saturday, but it's going to be a little bit earlier. I have, again, just very busy right now. So it will probably be a little bit earlier, but I will post that. I will make sure to post that beforehand. And yeah, thank you for your patience with me always. Sending love and blessings your way. I'll talk to you soon. Okay. I'm live. I forget. See you.